Alright, and here is mailbag 6. I've got a couple things I'd like to open. We'll start with this one. And let's get this out of here so I can show you what it is. Alright, and this was also, I want to mention, inside a giant box with packing peanuts, so pretty decent shipping on this one. This is some kind of Fuji drive. I don't know the exact model. It's that, but I think it's an M2243. That looks like it has some interesting damage. But this is a stepper drive, as evidenced by that. So we may still get some action out of it. Why don't we hook it up and see what it does? Oh, it spins. Well, it seems to initialize properly. On to the next one. This is another import drive. I think this one came from the Czech or from somewhere out east like that. This is an IZOT CM5508, which I'm interested to see. It's a clone of an ST412, so let's open it up and see. Here it is. That was packed really well. It still has the IDC connectors instead of card edge. It's still on this weird plate. It looks like it slides into something. But it does at least have a quote-unquote real power connector. It was not parked, but it wasn't in cylinder 0. Feels free. Doesn't look like this has been hammered too badly. We got one pin that's a little bit bent, but I can live with that. Looks like we were on drive select 2 at some point for some reason. Just going to go ahead and flip that to drive select 1 before I inevitably forget and think the drive is dead. Still got its faceplate. So we're going to hook this up and see if it works. I wasn't able to confirm the entire pinout on the drive, but yellow being 12 volt positive going straight to the spindle connector seems correct. So let's see if it does anything. Pretty rough spindle. Okay, this definitely does more than just pull the head back, so we might actually have to do some diagnosis on this one. We'll save that for a future video, though. This last one came from another user on Discord. I can't show anything on top, and we'll pull this open and see what it looks like. Newspapers for packing material, pretty standard stuff. There it is, Tanon TM362. On a hard card, which got a little bit bashed up, but it's probably okay. I don't know. That's that plug over here making that sound. We'll find out in a second. Alright, let's see if it does anything. That sounded like it had passed. Let's try that again. Yep, that definitely passed. Alright, well, I'm pretty sure that drive just works. Sweet. Slightly unrelated, here is another package from Redbubble. It's just kind of a neat poster of what I think is an Rodime RO200 series, or maybe like a CMI 5000, I don't know. Alright, here's the next one, and no, it's not from DigiKey. Let's open it up and see. Alrighty. Oh, okay. So these, Kyocera KC20Bs. These came from a user on VCF who couldn't get them working. That one's the one with the broken rotary band, I think. No, they both have broken rotary bands, I think. So, we'll plug them in and see if they do anything, but I think these are both basically junk, and I'm going to use them for control boards. Here's number 1. Well, I heard the stepper turning, but again, I think the rotary band is broken in this one, so we'll have to open this up and have a look inside later. Here's the second one. Same exact thing. Again, I think the rotary band is broken. I can hear the motor moving, but nothing happens, so we'll have a look later and see what we can do about these. This one is a Shugart SA1004S. It came from a gentleman who is in my comment section pretty regularly. I'm sure you'll see him down there. Hi, Bob. This is not compact parts, as you might expect. We'll see if we can get this working. He said it has a PCB issue that causes overspeed. We'll find out. Very nice packaging, obviously, from another hard drive collector. I would expect nothing less. This is actually a working SA604 and a SD510. TEC SD510. We'll have a look. The other SA604 is in that box, and that came from Bob. Just going to go ahead and open this one as well, because I know what it is. Wow. Now, that is some serious packaging. Okay, that one you can tell is Bob's. This one, again, this is the one with the overspeed, so we'll spin this one up first. There it is. There's the Shugart SA604S. Control board bad, motor overspeed. This one has a different control board than my SA612. Look at that, though. It's got like a huge bodge board on it. That's crazy. Well, let's plug it in and see what it does. It's spinning. Boy, that really does get going, huh? That's definitely way too fast. Yeah, he's exactly right, unsurprisingly. We'll try this with another control board in a later video, but I think this should be repairable. Here is the other SA604. Again, really strange geometry on here. 159 cylinders. But this has a totally different control board. This looks a lot more like the SA612s. Can you see why I might be a little bit confused looking at this drive next to the other one? There's not a lot of bodging on that. So again, I think this has got to be like early production or something, but the mechanism is the same, so we'll see how that works. Ooh, that's some spindle bearings. I heard it seek. I don't know if you could see it, but through that little window down there, I could see it seek too. So I think this drive works. This control board works. Maybe we'll slap this onto that drive, because that drive has better bearings anyways. See if we can make one good out of one kind of mediocre, and the other one has a good spindle. Brake works at least. TEC SD510. This one apparently tested okay. 306 cylinders, 10 meg. Pretty standard geometry on this one. Look at that interesting faceplate. Fellow hard drive YouTuber Arnlall has one of these, and his took a lot of effort to get even partially working. And my SD540 took a lot of effort to get intermittently working. Alright, this is not a security light. This is actually an ExcelStor ES3220, I believe. So let's pop it open and see if that drive works. Certainly an interesting choice of packaging. I've never quite seen that before. But there it is. Yep, ExcelStor ES3220. This is the... ExcelStor bought what remained of Connor peripherals after the Seagate buyout, and initially they were called Connor Technology, and then they became ExcelStor. So this is essentially a 20 gigabyte Connor Cabot, like that Connor Technology CT210 we saw in the last video. I think it was the last video, which is a 10 gig Connor Cabot. This is basically the next step in evolution. I don't know if that's what that's supposed to sound like, but... I couldn't tell you. No idea if that's working or not. Sounds like it's probably not, which is a little bit of a shame, but for $10, who cares? On to the next one. No, it's definitely not working, actually. I know what this one is. This is an NEC D5146H. Yep, that's what it was. D5146H. It does have a faceplate. No LED. I mean, control board looks like it's all in one piece. Nothing like falling off it or egregious. Like no burn marks that I immediately see. Let's hitch it up and see if it does anything. I think that worked. Here's one more. This one is very special. I've had this on my list for a long time to get one of these, so let's pop it open and see if this one works. Typical, like, paper packaging. Ooh, there it is, in its bracket and everything still. Let's pull it apart and see. There it is, the MiniScribe 7080 AT. This is just about MiniScribe's last model of drive. I think the 7120 was the last one they made. But this is what became the Maxtor 7000 series. It was originally a MiniScribe. It was the only product that they truly carried over. Maxtor kept making the 8051A and the 7000 series, and I think that's pretty much it. Everything else got discontinued as soon as they bought them. So this was... Maxtor Colorado was MiniScribe, right down to the actual design of the drive. Let's see if it works. No idea what these brackets are from, but... It even sounds like a Maxtor 7000 series. Luckily, it seems to work. In here is another interesting drive that's been on my list for a little while. Hopefully it works like they say it does, so that I can show it off. It's an oversized box that they cut down. That's pretty standard stuff, I think. It's pretty well packed so far. Good, it's in an anti-static bag. There it is. This is a Quantum Q540. Complete with faceplate and everything. Supposedly this drive works with, I think they said, one bad block. We'll be the judge of that, though. Not in this video, but definitely will be. It looks pretty clean overall. Everything appears to still be here. These are basically a condensed Q2000 series that's got, I think it's cylinder doubled. I think 512 cylinders versus 256. But I could be wrong. They might actually just be the same geometry. And this is just smaller. Let's find out if it works. Alright. That sounds happy to me. So this one is actually one of 2 packages coming from this seller. I don't think the other one is quite here yet, but we'll hopefully see that in just a minute. I don't know how you pronounce it, but I think it's Stanshik Computers. And always packed well from this guy. Always a good price from this guy, too. He gave me a really good deal on one of these, and then basically the only one that I've ever seen of the other. And 2 other really cool drives, hopefully, that you'll see in a minute. So here are the 2 drives that were in there. Anesthetic bag and everything. So this is pretty neat. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. This is an Alps DRR040N02A. You can see this is a pretty beat up drive, but it is a tiny 3.5-inch drive. I mean, this drive is really thin and light and microscopic. Doesn't sound horrible. There's basically no documentation. I think those there will be power pins, so maybe we will hitch this up and see if it blows up when I plug it in. Couldn't hurt anything. It already looks like it's in pretty terrible shape. I don't think that was working. It was certainly an interesting noise. Maybe we'll pop the lid on this and see what's going on. That'll probably be in the Discord. I don't know if this is worthy of its own video. We'll see. And here's the other drive, which is a MiniScribe 8212 with a translator board on it. Ah, yes, and a giant comical 5.25-inch bracket still. Doesn't this kind of look a little bit goofy? Giant shock mounts for an 8212, really? Big old translator board on the bottom. There's a IDE connector on the front, which is also very strange. Type 1, supposedly, which is not true. This is an 8212, which means that it is no type, actually. It is 612 cylinders with 2 heads, not 306x4. However, this Western Digital translator board has a single jumper on the board, which allows it to translate just this geometry, 612x2, just this to 306x4. That is the only translation that this controller is capable of, other than IDE to ST412. Let's hook it up and see if it works. I do really appreciate Western Digital going to the trouble of actually putting a power connector pass-through on that board. Error code. It's facing the wrong way anyways, so why don't we spin this around. Ooh, that's locked up solid, isn't it? Boy, oh boy. Well, that would be why there's an error code, huh? Try that again. That's going to need some exercise and some oil, but I think that's going to come back to life. It sounds pretty decent. And this next one is actually from another user. The same guy I bought the JCT100 from. I also purchased this from. Let's have it open and see. So again, thank you to Compu85 for selling me this drive. I definitely wanted it for my collection, and let's make sure that it got here safe. Inside all that was actually this rather goofy looking, but actually pretty nice SCSI enclosure. I do like the Lego shaped LEDs on the front. That's kind of nice. It's very beige. It's very bland. Big old power switch on the back. Software support Inc. Mega Disk, 10 megabytes. Wow. And then there is a SCSI port up there somewhere. Neat. Let's pull it apart and see. So 4 screws on the bottom, and then it looks like maybe the cover slides. There it is with the cover off. I do not know what this crazy looking board on top is. Software Support Inc. But this is a SCSI translator, so that means that this is a SCSI bus. Don't know. Don't quite know what that board does. We may never know. It does run Looks like the power LED, though, and the access LED looks like it's wired directly to the drive, which means they probably cut it off the board on the drive, which is a little bit sad. Quality, without question. Boy, look at this power supply. That's probably just came loose in shipping. I'll tighten that back down. Disctron Incorporated. So I believe that he said this was a D519. I don't really care. I will buy any Disctron drive that I can get my hands on. But if this is actually a D519, that means that this drive has been upgraded. There is a different mechanism in here than there was before. So that's rather interesting. Let's pull it apart and get that drive out of there. To be perfectly honest, I want to see if the drive works. So I plugged in the enclosure. Let's see if it goes bang. It did seek. I think that LED is not working anymore. Spindle break. The drive is coming out of this enclosure. That is final. It's got to be part of the collection, not in a scuzzy enclosure like this. But I will be keeping the enclosure for I don't know what, but it would be interesting to use it for something. This is actually a rather nice enclosure, I think. Duh, I just noticed that LED wasn't even plugged in all the way. So why don't we see if that LED works? Hey! That's cool. Boy, that drain's really slow. Alright, now back to getting the drive out. I know that's upside down, but this is, in fact, a Disctron D519. This is the 3-platter version, that's 15 megabytes. So this drive actually has been replaced before in its life. Luckily, it does not seem they did any permanent modifications to this drive. They just had the LED plugged in to the LED header, and obviously they took the faceplate off, which is a little bit of a shame. Weird that they ran it upside down, too. Maybe that saved the bearings, though. We'll find out. And we already know this works, but just for fun, we're going to try it on the bench supply here, which I need to plug in again. Alright, here we go. Pretty good. Alright, here's the next one. Let's get this open and see. More packing peanuts. And here are the two drives. This is a Maxtor XT2190. And this is a new old stock. I think it's a Core Optima. But this is a CDC BJ7D5A. Brand new, never used. So we'll have a look at these in a second. So there is the Maxtor XT2190. This is, I believe, the largest ST412 hard drive ever produced. And these have, apparently, they have an internal washer that likes to break and send the heads flying off the disk. So we're going to actually pop the lid on this one before we run this drive. Not sure if we'll do it in this video, but we'll see. And here is the CDC BJ7D5A. Like I said, this was intended for a compact of some kind. Pro 286 it looks like. I think that these are part of a Core Optima kit. This drive is super clean because it just came out of the bag for the first time ever, I believe. And check that out. Remove bracket before operating. I think this is the one, yeah, shipping lock. Push in to operate, pull out to lock. Alright, I think we're ready to operate here. Why don't we slam this onto the power supply and see what it does? Quite possibly the first time this drive has spun up in almost 40 years. Bearings are quiet. That sounds like it's working. I have no idea though. Does it park when I turn it off? It sure does park. And the brake sounds pretty nice too. So I think this drive is working. We will find out later though, I guess. I'll have to throw it on the computer and see what it does. Alright, here is the next drive. I do know what this is. Come on, there you go. This is another PrairieTek drive. This is a Prairie 242, I believe. Yep, Prairie 242, which is just the 40 megabyte version, I think. I think it's otherwise exactly the same. There it is, Prairie 242. Supposedly, this drive works. I'm not sure how much I buy that now. Well, while I get that figured out, here is the next one, which is a drive we've already seen in a mailbag segment, but this is another example of it that I got for a really good price. Actually pretty well packed. This is another Shugart SA1004. I got this for $99, which I felt was a pretty great deal considering what I paid for the other one. So let's get this out here and look at it. And here it is. This drive is in considerably worse shape than the other 1004 that I got. The faceplate is actually snapped in half. We've got a connector torn off. Our jumper block is torn off. Transistor is bent. We have no hold down on this other than that one corner screw, which seems like it's loose even. We've got a couple like broken components, which is always fun. But I have one good control board, and that's all that matters. This is just another mechanism to have. Was it parked? Anything like that? No, but it wasn't at track 0 either. Again, a very weird situation. That oil damper is 100% leaking. So, but it'll make for a good parts drive if the other one has anything wrong with it. Alright, here's the next one, and because of the physical size of this package, I do know what this is. This is a Quantum Q2030. And this one actually has like a full-on grate to keep it safe, so the board doesn't get smashed like the Q2040 I got. The main purpose of getting this was just for the board, regardless of the mechanical condition. This has got the AC motor on it, I believe. So we'll pull this out and have a look. So here's the drive itself. There it is, the massive beast itself. There's a pocket on the front with a blank card in it. I'm guessing that's where your defects would go, or instructions to access it maybe. Q2030, and this is the AC spindle motor. It's got a nice protective shield over the board. And this only has 3 discs instead of the 4 that a Q2040 has. I'd like to see this one working, but I think most of these parts are going to get thrown on a Q2040 because that drive has had a lot more time into it already, and is also a physically higher capacity drive. On to the next one. Here's the next one, a lot smaller. This is a Maxtor XT series, I believe. I don't remember which model exactly, but I'll have a look. This guy packs his stuff really well. All of these drives, well, most of these drives came from the same person. You can see how he packs his stuff pretty well, I think. There you go. With the faceplate too. This is a Maxtor XT8760S. I believe this is the last and largest of the XT series. It is a SCSI SE drive. We can probably spin this up unless it needs a start command, so let's do that. Nope, didn't get up to speed in time. There's some error with this drive, I think. I think electronically it's probably got a problem. Or maybe there's an open winding in the spindle. Who knows? But I didn't pay a whole lot for this drive, so I'm not too concerned. On to the next one. Almost certainly this is capacitor damage. I actually didn't even realize. Look at all the rust in the corner. And it made a very foul smell immediately after turning it off. Look at all the corrosion on this board. So this drive is probably not going to work again just because of the damage to the board. But, you know, interesting specimen to own at least. But wow, that's pretty bad. And that piece is just insanely hot. I bet that's the smell I was smelling. Neat. That's 2 dead. Alright, and then there's this one. This one I'm pretty sure is a box of 4 drives. We'll find out. Same guy again, can you tell? Yes, I believe these are my 4 drives. IBMs, if you can't see already. Here they are. They're all WD series drives from IBM. But these are not, and I repeat, they are not IBM PS2 drives. These are the MFM variants. And that's what they were, an IBM WD312S, and then 3 different WD325M2s. And again, look at the interface. It might also be SD. I'm not entirely certain. But I would be fairly surprised to find out that a 10 megabyte stepper drive is SD. So, we're going to hitch some of these up and see if they work. We're going to start with this one, which is the most beat up. That sounds kind of head-crashy to me. Not sure. We'll find out, though. Worryingly, all but one of those screws was loose. Alright, unless there's hidden screws, that's all of them out. Unfortunately, this drive appears to suffer from the same problem that most of them suffer, which is to say that the media actually flakes off the platters. If this would focus, that would be really cool. There you go. The media actually flakes off the platters. Like that. Just trying to get this to be a little bit smoother so we can see it spin up. Obviously this drive won't work with that kind of internal damage. Look at that counterweight on the end of that stepper swing arm. Let's find out. Does it do anything? If it would focus, please. Thank you. When it just steps inwards. That feels wrong. Usually they step to track 0. Oh, there we go. That seems a little bit more normal. Wasn't quite the right position, but it's getting there. Mechanically, this is probably okay. Well, I should say mechanically, as in it will actuate, but you can see that the disk damage is pretty horrendous on this drive, and probably the other 2 platters, or the other 3 surfaces, I should say, are not great either. And I'm willing to bet that it's the same way for all 3 of these. We'll find out, though. Alright, here's WD325M2 number 2. Just as bad as the first. Worse, actually, because it won't spin up all the way. Here's number 3. Oh, pretty bad, too. Same story as the last one. And here it is. The last one, the IBM WD312S. Will this be the savior of this batch of drives? It would be if the camera would focus. It doesn't sound as bad, but look at that chunk missing out of there that I didn't notice. The frame is get damaged. That's actually impressive. I've never seen a chunk taken out of the frame like that on any drive. I've seen little bits and pieces fall off due to poor shipping on a couple other drives, like those IMIs back there. There's one of those that has a big crack in the frame, and one of those that has the studs all broken off it, but never one with the chunk taken out. That's pretty interesting. Well, maybe this drive works, maybe it doesn't. I'll have to do some software testing in this one. Maybe I'll pop the lid, but if you want to see that, you'll probably have to look in the Discord server. On to the next one. This next one is another one we've already seen, but I'll show it anyways. Lots of bubble wrap, at least. That's nice. And styrofoam, which I think is actually factory for this unit. Maybe. Look at that. All covered in foam. This is a Disctron D519, but this is an early model. This is a really early production one. You can see no ridges on the lid. And actually, well, we'll get this out first before I tell you more about it. This unit was shipped by Devong Systems, which means that it was probably manufactured in 1981. And this probably was used in an original IBM PC, a 5150, a real original one, and someone booted off floppy to have a 10 meg hard drive. Neat. We'll clean it up and spin it up here in just a second. Well, time to see if she's still with us. I think the spindle is not turning, obviously. I think it's either stuck or the brake is stuck. We'll have to work on this later, I guess.